Yes, hello everyone, Fáilte Rash, Cúilín Media. Welcome back to another live show here, and I'm joined by Liam White and Matthew Hurley, and Aaron Prendergast will complete the set. Later on, we have a bumper weekend of action to look forward to across the Gaelic Games world. We have round 2 of the Munster Senior Hurling Championship, round 2 of the Leinster Senior Hurling Championship, round 2 of the Joe McDonagh, round 3 of the Christy Ring, Nickey Rackard and Lory Meagher. We also have action from the Connacht Senior Football Championship, the Ulster Senior Football Championship, 2 quarter finals there. We also have the LGFA Provincial Championships kicking off this weekend, and the second weekend of action of the Camogie Provincial Championships. Lads, we have a lot to look forward to. I suppose I'll start with a bit of a different question, as well as obviously how you are, how's life, everything like that. I'm going to ask you what game, before we dive in, which one are you looking forward to the most? Liam, I'll go to you first.
Yeah, obviously I'd love to say our own game against Galway Sunday, because I will be at it in Salt Hill. So that's kind of why I'm not going to say Cork and Limerick, because I don't know how much of that I'm actually going to get to see. But a game I'm actually really intrigued by this weekend is Kilkenny Wexford, after their performance last weekend against Galway, and my probably looks very hideous prediction of Wexford now at this stage. But no, I'm really looking forward to that game on Saturday. I think it's going to be a cracker in Nolan Park. They always seem to tear shreds out of each other. And it could tell a lot about potentially this season. But very much looking forward to that on Saturday, as well as the rest of the games. But I think we're in for a very good weekend. Should be good.
Absolutely. So, well, Matthew has A2 answered the question for you. I mean, Cork and Limerick, that's surely the main one you're keeping an eye on this weekend.
Potentially so, but ironically, that's not the Cork game I'm going to this weekend. It is the Cork footballers against Tipperary. So yeah, I'm hoping that'll be. Well, to be fair, it probably won't be game of the weekend. Let's be honest. Like Cork, even though Darcy should win that game against Tip, but yeah, Limerick Cork's probably the obvious answer. But look at the other Munster game between Tipperary and Waterford, especially given by the comments of a certain Cork legend, of Patrick Horgan. That will be very, very interesting. That game, to be honest, if Waterford do win that game, if they do manage to get over the line, I think a lot of people will be putting sorry cards in the post for Hoggy over the Glen. But it should be a very interesting game. And in football as well, Donegal against Down, I'm very, very intrigued by that game because of the ramifications behind it. If Down lose that game, there's a big chance they go into the Tailteann Cup back in there, and you'd imagine Down will win that competition, and all their predictions will be changed, no doubt. But some interesting games over the weekend. But those are the games I'll be looking out for.
Absolutely. So, Aaron has joined us. Aaron, welcome to the show. Did you hear my first question? Bit of a new one, as well as obviously, how are you? Which game are you looking forward to the most this weekend?
I'm doing good, lads. Good to chat to you. In terms of game, look, obviously it's Cork versus Limerick. Like it's the game that stands out. It's the El Clasico probably of hurling right now, in my opinion, in terms of the two best teams in the country. Right, yeah, I know Tipperary maybe might disagree in terms of being the top two. Maybe Clare might disagree as well, but. I think it has everything over the last couple of years. That's rivalry, blood, guts, thunder, excitement, edge of the seat stuff. And look, maybe I know in the round robin games sometimes get lost a little bit, but with it being in Páirc Uí Chaoimh, look, it's going to be absolutely packed to the brim. Cork fans are going to have the place flooded in terms of support and everything. There'll be seas of red absolutely everywhere. I'm sure the Limerick fans will bring the colour as well. That game definitely stands out. But look, I think Kilkenny Wexford is another interesting one as well. Like, I think Kilkenny need to bounce back, and I could easily see Wexford winning this weekend.
Yeah, that one's massive as well, because I think that one will give us a very, very strong indication of just how in the mire Kilkenny are. Not in any sort of a disrespectful way to Wexford, but the game against Galway was obviously, in my opinion, this is as a Dublin fan, that was obviously the most difficult fixture that Kilkenny could have had in round 1, away against Galway in the Leinster Championship. But if they lose a home game to a team that they would be favourites going in against, then we have a good idea that things really aren't good for the Cats this year. So time will tell. Tom here saying the battle of the weekend will be in Castlebar, obviously the clash between Roscommon and Mayo. Ryan here saying Wexford versus Kilkenny, massive for the Leinster Hurling Championship. Wexford have always put it up to Kilkenny and have a great recent record over them. I know well, Ryan, because every time the Dublin need Kilkenny to win, Wexford win. A2 says if Kilkenny lose to Wexford, they may as well start playing football. Well, we're going to start off, we're going to start off with hurling. And Aaron, the El Clasico of the game right now. And I mean, all eyes will turn to this. But we've got a healthy number watching again, everyone. If anyone has any comments or questions or wants to drop in their opinion of what games they're looking forward to the weekend or anything they want us to discuss, drop it in the live chat and we will come to it. Obviously, we've had some comments in there about Dara Craig's red card holding up, which we'll get to. But things like that help us to shape the episode so that you get the talking points you want discussed by us. So we're going to start off with, of course, the clash everyone has their eyes on this weekend. Cork versus Limerick, Sunday at 2 p.m. in Páirc Uí Chaoimh, live on RTE. It's round 2 of the Munster Senior Hurling Championship. It's the battle of two teams who never, ever, ever fail to deliver. Matthew, speaking from a Cork fan perspective, obviously myself, Aaron and Liam have, got to enjoy these clashes from a neutral standpoint. We don't have a horse in the race. But when you're in it and when it's your team, how different is it?
It's been many people might call it a rivalry, but it has been one-sided since the start of 2025, really. Because Cork haven't beaten Limerick in a competitive game since the All-Ireland Semi Final in 2024, which is a mad stat to think. I know a lot of people will point towards, a lot of people they say in the comments, but Cork won the Munster Championship. That was penalties. Technically, we haven't beaten Limerick since the 2024 All-Ireland Semi-Finals, so it is a long gap. Limerick fans are probably not calling it a rivalry. It probably still is a rivalry. Obviously, a lot of crap talking between the two sets of fans. I see on X or Twitter or whatever you want to call it that Limerick fans are going after Cork fans for buying out the train tickets on Irish Rail and all of that stuff going on. And there's more stuff going on off the pitch than there is on the pitch. And yeah, it should be an interesting game. Like, Limerick performed well in the league, 6 wins in a row. They were absolutely sensational in their games. They've mixed the youth and the experience. They are going into the championship in a very, very good light, and they look a serious team. As for us, I don't know. There might be more questions than answers, to be honest. I know we beat Tip, but let's be honest, it was a Tip team that was flat last Sunday. I wouldn't read too much into it. I still think there's a bit of work here to go. I know Cian Johnson mentioned on TikTok, and he used my stats for this in terms of our puck outs that we improved on them, but it didn't seem that way in the first half. I thought the short puck outs didn't really work. Tip were closing us down. They got 7 points off turnovers in the first half. But then when we started to puck it down the field, we started to get more joy with William Buckley in front of his man. You had Barry Walsh there as well. You had obviously Darragh Fitzgibbon was more in the game in the first half, but Shane Barrett started to get into more of the game in the second half. More players started to get involved in the forwards, and that was a positive in many ways there. But if we produce the same second half performance, I think we could really put it up to Limerick this weekend. But if we produce kind of the lethargic first half performance that we did last Sunday, Limerick could eat us up. They are that kind of team. They are a very, very good side. I seen Cornelius said the comic, he's a very good TikToker from Cork. He actually tweeted this earlier saying that if Cork do win this weekend, it's going to put more pressure on the lads in terms of winning the All-Ireland, which I actually agree with. So would we be better off drawing or winning this game as well? Or losing this game rather? But I'd rather win this game.
No.
I'd rather win the game for the sense of just ending that hoodoo and getting a monkey off her back and just beating Limerick in a competitive game. But a lot of
just more so, you've no guarantee that you get a result against Clare or Waterford. Just did this Munster Championship, I just wouldn't trust it as far as I could throw it. I think take your wins when you can get them.
Yeah, possibly so. Yeah, it's going to be an interesting game. A lot of narratives around it, and yeah, looking forward to it. But I would still have Limerick as favourites for this game.
We've a lot of comments flooding in about it. Sean here saying Limerick are coming into this fresh and with a lot of momentum and know that they'll need to win. Cork have a win under their belt. You would back them at home, but Limerick will be a superior test. Clan Coleman here says 3 wins out of 3 this season if you include the Munster League. A2 says Cork need to put a marker down. There's a lot of comments coming in about the game. A lot of questions. Very good one here from Ryan saying, could the break suit Limerick? Liam, I'll go to you for that one because that's a narrative that we're having here. Owen asking as well, do we think that Decky Dalton should be in the Cork squad? I do. I think he definitely adds something to it and his ability to to play at full foot in the full forward line along with the half forward line as long frees. I think there definitely is something in there for Cork. I think he's a fabulous player. But and then we have to give a shout to this as well. Ryan saying very kind of Darragh Fitzgibbon to give the Cork fan the signed jersey after he hit him by mistake. By mistake. That has to be said. Absolutely by mistake. And thought he handled it. I thought he handled it quite well afterwards in terms of like finding the fan and getting the jersey to him. So fair play to him for that. Absolutely, gentleman. And Matthew watched obviously your interview with him as well on the Southern Star pod. Obviously, big shout out to that. He comes across like a lovely guy. Liam, I'll throw that one to you. How does that play into the game? This one, the fact that Limerick have had a break since the league final and they've got to watch Cork now going up against Tipperary in round 1. Would you rather be in Limerick shoes or would you rather be in Cork shoes coming into this clash?
Yeah, it's an interesting one. It's that age-old question. Would you rather have championship minutes under your belt or would you rather have a bit of time to, still be able to train, get players back potentially if you have any injuries in the camp or whatever, sit back the opening weekend and try and, see what other teams are like at the moment and try and suss them out a small bit as you head towards the championship. I would probably still rather be in Cork's camp having had a game already, to be honest with you. Like as much as maybe Tip were flat last weekend, it still was a championship game. It still was a game that Cork got, whereas Limerick wouldn't have had anything thus far. But look, I do agree with Matthew's point. I think Limerick might actually go into this game this weekend potentially as the favourites. They had a very, very good league campaign. A great win over Cork in the league final. Cork, over the last, you do say it's been very one-sided over the last year or two, but Cork, they did beat Limerick in 2024 in Páirc Uí Chaoimh. They drew with them last year in Páirc Uí Chaoimh. I just think it's a small bit different in Páirc Uí Chaoimh the last 2-3 years when they play Limerick in comparison to when they go to the Gaelic grounds or anywhere else. So I think Cork are absolutely going to be up for it this weekend. And I think they are going to raise their levels this weekend because they know the battle that is coming from John Kiely and his Limerick side. But at the same time, Limerick are a team on a mission this year. They want to win the Munster title back. I mean, the fact that they won Munster titles from 2019 right up until 2024 and are still pissed off about losing last year tells you everything you need to know about them. They are hungry this year to come back and win a provincial title. And especially with the way they performed in the league and some of the players that took over the leadership roles in the team. You have William O'Donoghue, who was sensational in the league. You have Adam English, Cathal O'Neill, Aidan O'Connor, Shane O'Brien, who all stepped up. They're going to be a handful for Cork this weekend. You look at Kieran Joyce at fullback. I think he was much better against Tip than he was against, say, Offaly when he was at fullback, to be honest with you. And he's going to have a huge battle again this weekend against Shane O'Brien, as you'd probably expect him to be on him, to be honest with you. I'm looking forward to seeing the likes of Garrod Hegarty going up potentially against Owen Downey or Robert Downey going up against Keane Lynch. There's a lot of really nice matchups there. Shane Barrett against potentially Will O'Donoghue or Kyle Hayes against Darragh Fitzgibbon again. There's a lot of really, really tasty encounters for this weekend. These two, like you said, they never, ever disappoint when it comes to entertaining us. They've had some incredible games. I mean, I think the most disappointing game they've had in the last 2-3 years was probably the league game last year. But in fairness, it was a league game at the end of the day. And it still brought the dramatics after the incident with Seamus Flanagan and all that. So there was still a big talking point afterwards. So I think there's going to be blood and thunder this weekend. I think Cork are going to come out the gap absolutely firing. But then Limerick I think it could be similar to how the game in 24 sort of went. Cork will come out the blocks firing. Limerick will come back into the game. But unlike Cork winning the game in the end last time, I'm gonna do it, lads. I'm actually gonna say it's gonna be a draw this weekend. I can't separate the two of them. I am going for it. I'm being bold with it, but I just think there's so little separating these two teams. I think if William Buckley can have another stormer like he did last weekend, then he could absolutely light up the place, to be honest with you. But then again, Limerick this year, I have backed them to win the All-Ireland, and I think they are going to start off. I think they're going to come away from this weekend, and if they get a point, I think they actually genuinely will be happy with it because they are going, at the end of the day, away to a side who won Munster last year and reached an All-Ireland final. You're not exactly going away to, piss the opposition, are you? So, no, I am going to stick with a draw this weekend. I think it's going to be neck and neck right down to the end. And I think we're in for absolutely another cracker.
Absolutely. Well, Liam's led the way with his predictions, but not nailed his colours to the mast. Aaron, can you nail your colours to the mast, or are you going to join him on the fence? What do you think?
No, I think Cork are going to win this game. I don't think there's much between them and Limerick. I think that's been shown over the last couple of years. I know Limerick have obviously gotten the better of the two league games. The first league game, look, Cork didn't need to win that game. They were resting players and everything else. And then obviously with the league final, Limerick got the better on that occasion. But as we've seen in recent years, obviously Cork got the better in 2024 last year. 2025, it was a draw up until the penalties. So very, very little between them. And I think in Páirc Uí Chaoimh, I think the want will be there a little bit more so from a Cork perspective. I do agree with Liam's points as well. I think defensively, that's been one of the big things with Cork that they've really improved on so far under Ben O'Connor. Obviously putting Kieran Joyce in a fullback, whether they intended to do that originally, I'm not sure, but obviously they had a couple of injuries in that position. So that was one of the main reasons why they kind of put him in there. But yeah, we know how good Cork have been in terms of attack, but the question marks have been defensively in recent seasons in terms of.
Well, Matthew, do you want to take the reins on the prediction?
Yeah, I think Limerick will do it by about 4 or 5, in my opinion. Look, I think Limerick are just trotting along nicely at the moment. They seem to be getting the blend together. They're on a winning run at the moment. There's a happy camp there. There's no question marks over Limerick, is what I'm trying to say. And I just feel like that will be one of the reasons why I go for Limerick this weekend. And as well with Cork, I know Kieran Joyce is full back, but I still have question marks. I know, Kieran Joyce wasn't the best at fullback against Offaly. Against Limerick, he was okay. Against Tip, he wasn't tested. Let's be honest. Tip were well out of colour. And this is a massive test for the likes of Kieran Joyce. It's a massive test for the whole Cork defence. You have Shane O'Brien there. You have Aaron Gallan, who's well able to establish authority in the championship. You've Garrod Hagerty. You've Adam English coming into the attack as well from midfield, from deep. I think it's going to be a testing afternoon for these Cork players, and it will come down to small margins. For example, Limerick have a settled free taker in short distance, Aidan O'Connor, long distance, Dermot Burns. Cork don't at this present moment in time. Alan Connolly's okay on the short freeze at this present moment, but we've seen for the long freeze the other day, Tim O'Mahony was way off colour, and that has to change. Either get him off it and put Darragh Fitzgibbon or Mark Coleman on them, or you need somebody else on him, because obviously Mark Coleman took one against Tip the last day and missed. So it's going to be coming down to them small margins. I think Limerick have much more of a settled team. They're in form and they're coming off the league in good stead at this present moment. Limerick to win.
I agree with you. I think Limerick are going to win this. I think if there's one thing that Limerick would have been hurt by in last year's championship, I don't think it would have been as much the loss to Dublin as it would have been losing that Munster final on penalties to Cork. More so just Cork celebrating like crazy in the Gaelic grounds. I think that would have stung more than any defeat in the quarterfinals to a Dublin team that they don't have a rivalry with. And there's one game that John Kiley, Paul Kinnerk and the whole Limerick squad will want to overturn. It's Cork. It's getting them in the Munster Championship. And I do also agree that, look, Limerick are jumping into this late. If they start off with a defeat, they're on the back foot straight away. Cork have got to win, and I do think that absolute grit and determination won't be as prevalent as maybe it will be with Limerick. Even though Cork won, it's the most downplayed win that I've seen for such an impressive win on paper, if you get what I mean. They went away to the All-Ireland champions in round 1 and beat them. And yet the hype has really stayed down, and that's because you take in the context of the game. Were Tipperary at their best? No, they weren't. We've seen them a lot better than that. And that's why the result isn't getting the attention and the hype that maybe it would have got had both teams have been playing to their level. But you know that if Tip get out of the Munster Championship, which they could still do, it will not be like that if they meet up down the line. I'm going for a Limerick win. I'm going for a narrow 2 or 3 point Limerick win. So that's 1 vote for Cork, 2 votes for Limerick, and 1 vote for a draw. Sean O'Malley agrees with you, Liam. He's saying Cork 125, Limerick 222. A2 is saying Cork 223, Limerick 128. Porter here saying, have a feeling Cork will win. Buckley, Walsh are great additions, and Barrett is flying. Ryan says Limerick to edge it late, 25 points to 217. And Beast also saying if Limerick lose, they could be in serious danger. Just to add it in, guys, anybody who is involved in the here we're going to launch up a poll in this game. So basically how it works is, if you're new here, if you think Limerick are going to win, you type in number 2 into the live chat. And if you think Cork are going to win, you type 1 into the live chat. And that poll is live right now. So if you want to get involved in the vote, who you think is going to win, just drop your vote in there. Type 1 into the live chat for Cork to win. Type 2 into the chat for a Limerick win. I'm not allowing no fence sitting going on here. You can pick your winner.
Oh, come on.
Anyway, I'm going to hide the poll, but the poll is still live. So if you do want to vote, please do vote. Be very interested to see how it went. So that poll is still live, and we'll come to it at the end of the Munster Championship. So moving on, Waterford against Tipperary, Sunday at 4 p.m. in Walsh Park. This one is live on GA+. Interesting enough, I think it's the first weekend, lads, with a ton of bumper fixtures on GA+. They've got action from the Munster Senior Hurling Championship, action from Connacht, action from Leinster, action from Munster. They've got action across the board this weekend. But this one, Waterford versus Tipperary, Sunday 4 p.m. in Walsh Park. Aaron, it's two teams with their backs firmly against the wall. I think when you're talking about potential consequences, this one is more severe.
Yeah, I think so. I think whoever loses this game, like obviously teams in the past have lost their opening 2 games and come back, most notably Cork, but you would imagine for either one of these 2 teams, like if they were to lose, they will be in massive trouble. In my opinion, like I think it's a real banana skin game for Tipperary in particular. Like I thought they looked very flat versus Cork, never really got out of third gear. Certainly wasn't the levels you'd expect with Tipperary. I would have thought with how much everyone was writing them off and criticising them, they would have came out all guns blazing. Darren McCarthy obviously didn't start the last day as well, which I thought was a little bit odd as well, given the influence that we know that he can have over Tipperary. So yeah, it's a massive game for them. But at the same time, like Waterford will go into this game feeling like they can take a scalp. Liam Cahill coming back to Waterford obviously as well, like to be no love lost there. And I thought Waterford were quite unlucky against Clare. Like I mean, they score 4-21 and end up on the losing side. Like I don't know if that's ever happened before. Like what did he score? Like 3-12.
Yeah. Did you see the TikTok from your man Mitch? Where it was like Stephen Bennett in the dressing room. We had that voiceover. It was like, right, y'all are trash. That wasn't my fault. Imagine going home, like imagine telling someone, how did you get on today? Oh, I scored 3-12. Oh, so you won? No. It's crazy. Sorry to cut across the arm, but I thought like that just needed to be said. Like that is that their problem right there? Or is that just too simplistic? Without him, they scored 1-8 or 1-9. Sorry.
There always seems to be like you always feel like with Waterford there's one player carrying the torch. Do you know what I mean? Like if it's not Stephen Bennett, it's obviously Ruben Halloran's going to come to the fore. Obviously this year, in previous years, Austin Gleeson will be the man. You know, Stephen Bennett's obviously been there before as well. Like Desi Hutchinson. Like it feels like if one player is absolutely brilliant, the rest don't. Like they don't kind of play in unison. Maybe at times there's no kind of team attitude, maybe, or something. I don't know what it is, but at the same time, I do agree with a lot of the comments as well. Like I actually do think Waterford are going to win this game, in my opinion. I think at home in Walsh Park, we saw Clare lose in similar circumstances last season, being the All-Ireland champions. And yeah, like I thought Waterford or Tipperary looked very flat last week. They obviously only recently brought back Willie Connors as well. So yeah, I think they're there for the taking. And I think Waterford, as long as they bring the same intensity and same energy against Tipperary or that they brought against Clare, I think they will be able to get over the line. So yeah, that's what I'm going for.
Absolutely. Plenty of comments in. Sean saying, I'm very interested to see how Sean Walsh goes in this game. He caused chaos in the Clare full back line last week, and I wonder if he can take advantage of Tip's frailties. I think as well, Sean, I seen your comment in about, are we going to be doing a poll for the other games? We will do a poll for the main games that we have. So Tip and we'll have one for the Tip and Waterford game, of course, when we're done discussing. Matthew, my dogs want to get involved in the discussion. I don't know if you can hear that, but Matthew, the next question is for you. When you're looking at this game, Tip and Waterford, obviously, how do you frame it? Who's coming into this in the better mindset? Were Waterford going away to that Clare game? I know obviously they would have had a win as their target, but Tipperary starting off with a home defeat. Are they in more of a flat position?
I think Waterford are in a very good position, to be honest with you. You look at their league game. I did watch that league game between Tip and Waterford, and Tip did win it, but Waterford deserved it. I'll put it that way. And Tip had John McGrath out, they know McGrath out on the pitch that day. Even the likes of Stephen Tobin, who's come into the panel, they had him out on his senior debut, I'd imagine, as well. And Waterford, I don't think Stephen Bennett was actually playing for Waterford that day. And Waterford should have beat Tipperary in the league. So I think, look, I might sound like Hoggy here, but I think a shock is coming. I think Waterford could get over the line here and watch. Look, they're at home. They were better than Tip in the league without some key players. Okay, they had Desi Hutchinson, who did well in that game and did well the other day, to be fair. I know a lot would talk about Stephen Bennett, but Desi Hutchinson converted 100% of his shots from 4 attempts. Like, you have to take that into consideration as well. He did absolutely brilliantly. Sean Walsh caused Clare a lot of problems at full forward as well. Billy Nolan, long puck of the ball. I think he could rouse the crowd as well. Mark Fitzgerald is a very good fullback. Like, Waterford performed very well against Clare last weekend. Even like, okay, Bennett scored 312, but Waterford scored 4 goals themselves as well. They scored 421. Normally that would win games. But it was because Clare scored a ridiculous amount themselves with 233 and converted nearly everything that they got. Like, I don't think Tip are on. It didn't look this way last weekend, and it might change this weekend now, but it didn't look like Tip were up to the field of the pitch at all last week.
Mm-hmm.
And
is that not what we saw from Clare last year, though?
Yes. Absolutely, it was. And they were All-Ireland champions as well. And Tip have this tendency to fall flat on their face after they win the All-Ireland. And obviously they wanted to do the back-to-back this year. They haven't done it since the early 60s. They look nowhere near, to be honest with you. Their players don't look sharp enough. Like John McGrath was brought off early. I agree with Aaron. Darren McCarthy not starting was strange, to say the least. Willie Connors performed well enough in fairness. Alan Tynan got the goal. I'll imagine he'll start this week now that he has minutes under his belt. But Tip just looked flat-footed last week, and Waterford looked raring to go. And they're in Walsh Park now. Let's call a spade a spade. Waterford have Cork and Limerick coming up after this game. If they lose this, they're gone. But if Tip lose this, there's still a chance they might get back into it because, like, they're All-Ireland champions after all. There might be a kick in them. But I don't see Waterford recovering if they do lose this game. But so for that reason, I actually back Waterford to win it. It will be tight, but I think Waterford home advantage might be enough to get them over the line.
It's very interesting. You've plenty of Sean here saying, is it really a shock if Waterford win? Not according to Sean. He's saying Waterford 324, Tipperary 118. Ryan is saying Tip 218, Waterford 126 with a Stephen Bennett masterclass. I'll answer this question here from Sean. He said, did you agree with Joe Canning's comments about Ballygunner's domination holding Waterford back? I wouldn't be 100% confident in giving the answer on that. I think you have to take into account that Waterford are in the most competitive province and it's extremely difficult to get out of there. The fact is that nobody outside of their province has won the All-Ireland since Galway in 2017. So nobody has ever come out with the Leinster Hurling Championship Round robin. That is a mad stat, and won the All-Ireland. That's crazy. The Munster Championship has produced the All-Ireland winner every year. So that tells you how cutthroat it's been. So like, it would be impossible to know. Ballyhale Shamrocks obviously had the spine of the Kilkenny team when they were really successful. Ballyhale had about 10 lads that were starting for Kilkenny and then starting for Ballyhale as well. So it's difficult to know. I wouldn't be 100% confident giving the answer. Porter, not one to shy away from nailing the colours to the mast. He has come in and said Tip by 15. Absolutely put the hammer down.
You said that last week.
That's one vote for Tipperary. Woody saying when Limerick were winning All Irelands, including 5 in a row leagues, practically the whole team was from a hand. And Sean also said Cross McGlenn were dominant in Armagh for a long time before 2002. I do think having more teams competing at the top is important. Like when you're seeing how Mount Sion were beaten very handy by Ballygunner. It's not a good omen. And then Ballygunner's B team winning the championship under the top level in Waterford, that's not a great sign. But yeah, I do think it's interesting. It's an interesting debate. But looking at this game, personally, who have I not shown? Liam, I haven't shown it to you yet in this game. Are we vastly, as a collective, are we vastly underestimating Tipperary here? Are people running a bit too fast with this?
Possibly so. For me, I just can't see the tip forwards being as bad this weekend as they were last weekend. I think last weekend was the worst I'd seen a Tipperary forward line perform. I think given the basis
what was it? Two Matthew, you had the stat, was it 4 shots from play or something?
4 shots from play in the second half, yeah.
Yeah. 4 shots from play in the second half is crazy bad for a forward line with that much talent.
Yeah, I just can't see it being that bad again, to be honest with you. They were a shadow of themselves last weekend compared to what they were last year. I think even listening to the RT podcast earlier, Shane McGrath saying that he'd heard that Darren McCarthy had a small bit of a shoulder injury, so they were still trying to mind that. Maybe that's why he didn't start. But then my theory always is, if he's fit enough for the bench, then sure, he's fit enough to start. But then again, that's an argument for another day. But we probably are underestimating Tip to a small bit. Look, it was a bad game last weekend. But then you look at Clare last year, they came back and drew with Cork in dramatic fashion last year. We're probably unlucky not to win it in the end in Ennis, and then they fell flat on their face for the remainder of the championship. Tip could be doing the opposite this year. They could be flat in the first round and then go out and win their next 3 games comprehensively, and we could be looking back in a couple of months going, what were we talking about? Do you know what I mean? It's that classic thing of, you're thinking about recency stuff, to be honest with you, because if I really wanted to go with recent stuff, then I probably would be saying Cork would win this weekend because they won last weekend. Do you know what I mean? Or you could easily be saying Limerick will win this weekend because they bet Cork a couple of weeks ago. But for me, look, I think Waterford will put up a big battle this weekend. They have home advantage. They have always made Walsh Park a difficult ground to go to, in the Munster Championship, to be fair. Even if they haven't won a load of their games there, they still have made it difficult for teams. I just can't see Jake Morris, Andrew Ormond, Jason Ford from play and John McGrath being as bad as they were last weekend, to be honest with you. And I don't think Liam Cahill and his backroom team will even allow it, to be honest with you. I think they have to step it up this weekend. And I think Darren McCarthy will start. Look, it was a tough debut in the championship for Stephen Tobin, to be honest with you. I think he is a fabulous hurler, to be fair. He's still playing under 20, and I think he has a good career ahead of him, but it was a manic game to throw him into, first round of the championship. But I think he will come good. If he could come on this weekend and get 2 or 3 points, get a goal or something, and that could be the kickstart of for his career that he needs. So I think Tip are going to respond this weekend. I just think Waterford just aren't at the level of everyone else in Munster, despite how bad Tip were last weekend. I think there is an over-reliance on the likes of Bennett and potentially Desi Hutchinson as well. Hutchinson, when he gets an opportunity, he absolutely scores them. But he wasn't given the ball a lot against Clare. That was the problem. And I think that could be a similar issue again this weekend, especially when you have the likes of Breen and Doyle potentially marking him. Does Brian O'Mara drop back to mark him? And it becomes an even bigger issue then. So, I think a bit like Wexford, I think Waterford are just a small bit too reliant on Bennett at the moment to sustain a mountable sort of challenge. So, I actually think Tipperary are going to win this weekend. I just can't see their forwards being as bad as they were last weekend, and I think they're going to pick it up on Sunday. So I'm going to go with Tip to win this game by 6 points.
Okay. Has everybody decided? Aaron, have you picked? Matthew, you've gone for Waterford. Aaron, you've gone for Waterford. I'll make it interesting. I'll go for Tip.
Yes.
I'll go for Tip. We'll go for a split on this one. But lads, we're going to bring back actually a favourite from the past on the show here. Remember our Call It series? I think it's a good time to bring it back maybe for the Munster Championship here. We'll start off with the first game just to remind anybody who's only joining us now which way we've gone. But I think it's always a good bit of fun. So let's go. Munster Hurling Championship Round 2, Call It. Starting off, Cork versus Limerick. Aaron, we'll go anti-clockwise, sorry. Aaron, Cork or Limerick, what are you saying?
Cork.
Matthew?
Limerick.
Liam?
Draw.
And I'm going with a Limerick win. Next up, Waterford versus Tipperary. I'll start this time. I'm going with Tipperary. Liam?
Tipperary.
Matthew?
Waterford.
Aaron?
Waterford.
Very good. Are we going to set up the live poll? That's what we're going with in round 2 of the Munster Senior Hurling Championship for 2026. And I will set the poll live now for anybody who wants to get involved. Just to remind you, this is what the results are. I wonder, lads, what you make of this. This poll is finished. 67% of respondents said that Limerick are going to win in Páirc Uí Chaoimh this weekend. 33% of respondents, said that Cork are going to come out on top in that one. So starting off the new poll, winner in this game for anybody who has joined or joined late and hasn't done this poll with us before. Basically, with this poll, which is about to go live, you type in 1 into the live chat if you want to vote for Waterford to win this game, and you type in 2 into the live chat if you want to go for Tipperary to win this game. The poll is live, and if you want to get voting there, you absolutely can, and please do. And that poll is still live right now, but we are going to hide it and take it off screen. And we're going to move across to the east, to the Leinster Hurling Championship, and the game that we have billed as the most important game in the Leinster Hurling Championship this weekend, the clash of Kilkenny and Wexford, Saturday at 6:30 p.m. in Nolan Park. This one is live on GAA+. Annoying how the GAA+ went down underneath the line there. But Liam, I'm going to come to you for this one first. Obviously, you're quite close to Kilkenny, of course. What are you expecting from your local rivals? And then, of course, Wexford going away to Nolan Park. Two teams who badly need this win. Wexford obviously started off with victory against Kildare, but didn't look $1 million doing it. Kilkenny, on the other hand, had a horrible day out the last time against Galway. They need a bite back, especially in front of their home fans.
Yeah, I don't really know if we can call Kilkenny rivals considering where we've been the last 20 years and where they have been, but I appreciate you still having faith in us anyway. But yeah, this weekend, this is a huge game. This is the biggest game in the Leinster Championship so far this season. Just in terms of for Kilkenny, if they don't win this weekend, then people will be calling for Derek Ling's head. There's no doubt about that. And it is a shame. I've met Derek Ling. He's actually a lovely fella, and he's very, very passionate about hurling. And look, we make the comparisons with taking over from Sir Alex Ferguson at Manchester United, but it is similar to a degree, to be honest with you. Taking over from a dynasty of Brian Cody is never going to be simple. Even if, Eddie Brennan or Henry Shefflin had stepped in at the role immediately afterwards, it was never, ever going to be simple to take over from Brian Cody. But Kilkenny just don't look the same team as they did even from the All-Ireland final 4 years ago against Limerick. They just don't look the same team. Look, Hugh Lawler being out, you could see it last weekend. Massive miss. Billy Ryan being out. Their defence last weekend was just absolutely torn to shreds. I like Paddy Deegan as a hurler. I absolutely do. I think he has so much to give for, not just for Kilkenny, but for his club as well. But he's not a cornerback. And the moment I saw Rory Burke spin him last weekend, I just knew he was in bother. And I felt sorry for him, to be honest with you, because I don't think it is his position personally. And that's something that Kilkenny are going to have to work on this weekend going up against Wexford. Look, there's much like Cork and Limerick, there's always cut and throat between these two sides. They love going up against each other, tearing into each other. Wexford, they love playing against Kilkenny. I mean, they bet them last year, albeit it was very much a second string Kilkenny team. They had Adrian Mullen at centre back, which you just never see on any other given day. If Kilkenny were actually serious about winning a game. But the game being in Nolan Park, if Kilkenny, whatever about losing last weekend in Pearse Stadium, if Kilkenny were to lose their home games, then they'd be in real bother then. And if they lose this weekend, I think they could potentially be kissing a Leinster final goodbye, and it'll be then down to a thing of, we got to make sure we get third spot in Leinster, which is not a predicament that they absolutely would have wanted to have been in at the start of the season. There's an over-reliance on TJ at 38, 39 years of age, which you just don't need at this age. Look, is he still a fabulous hurler? Absolutely. Will he go down as one of the best of all time? Of course. But you can't keep relying on him, and even to the same degree, Owen Cody for every single game. Cian Kenny had a few good games in the league campaign as well, but you can't keep relying on those guys. Other guys have got to step up this weekend, and if they really want to prove themselves in Kilkenny jerseys and prove that they're serious about winning in All-Ireland this year, or being competitors at least, then they need to show up this weekend. Wexford, like you said, they weren't marvellous against Kildare. They got the job done. Bleed Chin again was doing his business. What was it that you said, Matthew? Was it 110 each from play that the game ended? from just like that's absolutely insane. And I think Leitrim got 112 out of their 122 as well. So it does show you that they are heavily, and like I know I look a bit silly now saying that I thought they'd finish 6th, but I just think there is an over reliance on Leitrim. To be honest, I think if Leitrim gets taken out of that Wexford team, I do worry for them, to be honest with you. Like just picture if Leitrim went off injured this weekend and he was to miss the rest of the championship. I don't have confidence that Wexford would go and beat Dublin or beat Galway or even beat us, to be honest with you. So they need him fit. They need him firing this weekend. But it's a dangerous game always to write off Kilkenny. And for me personally, I'm not going to do it this weekend. I think they are going to edge it. I think they're going to ignite their season potentially again. But albeit with John Donnelly out as well, albeit he wasn't going great against Galway last weekend, that is going to be a big miss for them. But I think they're going to rally. I think they're going to come through it. But if I'm going to make a bold prediction, I think both teams are going to be reduced to 14.
I mean, I don't think it's a bold prediction.
Probably not.
Personally, I agree. I think Kilkenny are going to bounce back and they're going to get the win. I think, like A2 says here, very good comment, says you got to be smelling blood if you're Wexford. I think they will be. I just think without Rory O'Connor, I just don't think that they have enough in the tank apart from Lee Chin and like the likes of Simon Roach. I don't think they have the firepower to really take advantage of the state that Kilkenny are in. To be honest, I don't know, would you agree, Aaron? I'd want to have Kilkenny right now. I think they're more vulnerable than they will be in round 5 because I could see them winning I could see a situation where they win their next 3 games and then going into that round 5 against us, they're raring to go. All of a sudden, we've got a live Kilkenny again, always at the worst possible time. I think Kilkenny are going to bounce back. I agree with Ryan's comment here. It's the all or nothing for Kilkenny and Ling. I think Kilkenny are going to win this game, but not very convincingly. I'm going to say Kilkenny by about 4 points, but like a game that's like very free, heavy, TJ banging over 12, 13 points from frees, that type of game. And I think Kilkenny get over the line and get themselves up and running on the board. Sean here says you would expect a Kilkenny reaction at the very least, which should be enough to beat a Wexford, who are a team in decline. I wouldn't have your head down, Liam. I think Offaly and Kilkenny are closer than they have been in the past, judging on last week's performance. I absolutely agree with that. And Ryan saying the stat that Matthew said last week about only one player scoring more than 2 points is damning. Woody saying, what's the average lifespan for an inter-county manager? Just like Henry Shefflin could come in potentially. And Sean is going for Kilkenny to win 123 to Wexford's 218. So Liam and I have both gone with Kilkenny. Aaron, is it 3 for Kilkenny?
No, I think I'm going to get the fence out for this one and go for the draw. Okay. You know, like originally I was looking at backing Wexford, but I think it's also worth mentioning as well that Wexford themselves also haven't looked particularly brilliant this year as well. I know obviously they've beaten Kildare in the last 2 games and fairly comfortably enough as well, you'd say. But look, there is a gap, you know, between Kildare and some of the other teams, like with all due respect. And there is an over-reliance probably on Lee Chin, Simon Roach, to kind of do the business and everything else from a Wexford perspective. It is a weird one. Like Wexford do always raise their game against Kilkenny, though. They have always done. In previous years when Wexford have needed results and needed wins against Kilkenny, they've often pulled it out of the bag. They're probably one of the only teams who have actually beaten Kilkenny up until obviously last weekend in the round robin in recent seasons. So that's kind of impressive enough from a Wexford perspective. But I do also agree with you lads as well. Like there does have to be a bite back from Kilkenny. There has to be something. It was a difficult one with the Galway game because obviously they got down to 14 men at the start of the second half. You know, that kind of wrote the game off after that. And then Galway were just pulling them apart left, right and centre, bringing players off the bench and killing them easily. So it was kind of hard to judge a little bit from a Kilkenny perspective in terms of their level of fight. But yeah, you would absolutely expect a response. But I think Wexford are going to smell blood also. And that's why I think it is going to be a highly entertaining game going back and forth. And yeah, I'm going to go for a draw.
Okay, so a draw and 2 votes for Kilkenny. Matthew, what are you saying?
Yeah, I'm going to go for Kilkenny. Simply, look, Kilkenny are in as bad a spot as Tipperary at this present moment, probably worse, to be honest. With the form they're on, they aren't really excelling. Obviously, TJ Reid only scored 1 point for Blade last day. but he got 1-8 the last day, which was way more than anybody else. Himself and Cody are really carrying this Kilkenny team against any other opposition. If they were playing Dublin this weekend, even if they were playing Offaly, I would actually fancy the other opposition. Potentially, I mean that, Liam, simply because Offaly played very well against Dublin and there seems to be a bit of confidence there. I don't trust this Wexford team. Leachin is by far and away their best player. They don't have anybody substantial to carry on the baton. Simon Rose performed well in the league. Obviously, you had Jack Redmond scoring 3-3 for play against Kildare, but I don't know where he's got to. You need to be playing him from a Wexford point of view. You need to be playing him on the pitch if you are to have any chance of winning this one. They could nick it because of a Leachin masterclass. That's all I can say about Wexford. If Leachin scores something like 2-14 or 2-15, which is completely possible, Leachin is that sort of player. If he does do that, they have a chance. But I just don't see Wexford relying on one player and getting them over the line against Kilkenny, especially in Nolan Park. Not this time. I think Kilkenny will win this and they'll win it by 6.
Okay. Do you know they've lost a lot of players in the last few years, though, haven't they, Wexford? Like, they've lost a lot. And it just kind of came to me again that, like, Rory O'Connor, just how big a loss he is. We've seen how immense he was with St. Martin's. Even players that they had, over the last 5 years that have left the panel, players like Matthew O'Hanlon, players like Conor MacDonald, like, these lads were the bedrock of Wexford side, and they kind of just quietly, one by one, slipped out of the team, and they're miles away, in my opinion, in terms of how many players are left now from the starting team that won that glorious Leinster title in 2019. It's a long time ago now. It's 7 years ago. But you never know. One great victory here over Kilkenny could propel them potentially into a Leinster final. Like, that's how close this Leinster Championship will be, especially now that Dublin have drawn with Offaly. Like, I guarantee, like, teams are going to be bouncing up and down the divisions. But I think, with all due respect, I'm going to, with one eye on the clock, because we're already 48 minutes in, 47 and a half minutes in, talking about those first 3 games. These 2 games, on paper, they do have teams that you have to consider clear favourites. And the first, Galway Offaly is the first one in Pearse Stadium. This, just given Galway's amazing form against Kilkenny in round 1, you would have to say Galway favourites, especially that they've got home advantage again. That one Sunday at 3:30 p.m. in Pearse Stadium. And then obviously Dublin host Kildare Sunday at 3 p.m. in Parnell Park. Even though Kildare looked great against Wexford, given the league result only a few weeks ago where Dublin put, 5 goals, Aaron, past Kildare in Parnell Park or something. It was a significant number of goals anyway. Off the top of my head, I can't remember exactly. You would have to say Dublin and Galway are favourites with this. But Liam, I'll go to you first. Obviously, your home county involved, going away to Pearse Stadium. After the showing against Dublin, do you think you can upset the apple cart in Salt Hill?
Look, anything's possible in life, but I think realistically, Galway are the strongest team in Leinster right now. I don't think we'll be as bad against Galway as Kilkenny were. I will say that. I think there's a bit of confidence in this group at the moment. There's a bit of an over-reliance on TJ and Owen Cody, similar to how maybe there was a small bit of an over-reliance on Adam Screeney throughout the league for Offaly. But then you saw the difference that Charlie Mitchell, Shane Rigney made last weekend. Even Dan Burke had a savage game last weekend as well, scoring 3 points for place. So I think there's potential for Offaly to cause a bit of damage there. There's potential there for us to get a good scoreline. I think if we were to be within 7-8 points of Galway, I think we can come back out of this with a lot of positives. And look, Brecon Kavanagh went off at halftime last weekend. So did Carl King. Turgaina went off with a couple of minutes ago. I don't know if any of them are going to be fit. We'll have to wait and see. But at the same time, in fairness, Colin Spain came on, did all right. Kieran Burke came back and he had a savage game in the full back line as well. It was that bit of a boost and a bit of strength that we kind of... Now, does he need to learn how to shoot? Absolutely. I don't care if you're a full back. You need to learn how to shoot at inter-county level. But at the same time, it's good to have these players back. I'm excited to see what Mitchell and Screeney can do against his Galway defence as well, against the likes of Darren Morrissey, etc. In the full back line. I think that'd be an interesting battle. But you look at Nyland, you look at Rabbit, Conor Whelan. I like that forward line. I can't lie. Cathal Mannion the last day against us was absolutely... It was a terrible game when we played them in the league, but Cathal Mannion was the standout player. There's no point saying otherwise. Look, I'm going to it with hope, and I'm going to go to it with a big smile, and it's in Salt Hill, so it'll be a lovely day out. But look, Galway, realistically, they're the best side in Leinster right now. Don't think we'll be as bad as Kilkenny last weekend, but I think Galway will win this game in the end by 7 points.
I think so. Is it a clean sweep for the home teams, lads? Obviously, apart from Aaron going for a draw, we've got 3 of us have gone for Kilkenny, and we're going for Dublin to beat Kildare and Galway to beat Offaly in Pearse Stadium. That's what we're going with. From Leinster round 2, Sean saying I think Offaly will cause Galway problems, but Galway at home should get it done. We're going to move on now to the Joe McDonagh, Christy Ring, Nickey Rackard and Lory Meagher Cup, starting off round 2 of the Joe McDonagh match. I'm going to come to you for this one first. We have Down hosting London Saturday at 1 p.m. in Ballycran. Obviously Down flying high after cementing themselves as Kings of Ulster, beating Antrim away in Antrim in Dunloy. So they'll be coming into this one full of confidence against London and Ballycran. Laois host Antrim then Saturday at 4 p.m. in O'Moore Park. This is actually the 2 that I picked to get to the Joe McDonagh final. I don't think things are going well for Antrim though. So personally, I do expect Laois to win this one. And I expect Down to beat London as well with the form that they're in. And I expect Carlow to win this one, even though it's in Cusack Park. The form that they put up against Laois, hitting 4 goals against them, they look like they've started the Joe McDonagh really, really well. So I'm going for Down, I'm going for Laois, and I'm going for Carlow. What are you thinking?
Yeah, I'm going to go the same, to be honest with you. Like, Down, it's a very good opportunity to get 2 wins out of 2 on the board. And Ronan Sheehan would be absolutely delighted with that, as well as the backroom team of Tom Fletcher and obviously Dermot the Rock O'Sullivan in the backroom team there as well. So Down have some serious men there that have been through the mill, and they do have some good hurlers there, like the likes of Tom McGrattan and Pierce Open Crickard. So they will beat London this weekend. I'm probably sure that because of Down's position in they compete as well enough in Division 1B, whereas London, okay, they didn't go down from Division 2, but they didn't really compete other than the likes of Mayo and Derry. And yeah, I think Down will win this weekend. I think Carlow beat Westmeath. They're brilliant form at the moment. The likes of Martin Kavanagh and Chris Nolan, brilliant players there. And Laois will beat Antrim this weekend, partly because I was surprised at Laois's kind of performance against Carlow, but their league form suggests that they will get the job done against an Antrim team. They're quite frankly an utter mess at the moment.
Any disagreements, lads? We're going Carlow to beat Westmeath, Laois to beat Antrim, and Down to beat London. Any disagreements?
No.
Okay. Well, I'm going to move on now, Aaron. I'm going to go to you next for the Christy Ring Cup. Round 3 this weekend. We have Derry hosting Donegal Saturday at 1 p.m. in Celtic Park. Roscommon hosting Kerry Saturday at 1 p.m. in Dr. Hyde Park. Wicklow hosting Meath this weekend, whenever this thing decides to work. There we go. Wicklow against Meath Sunday at 2 p.m. then in Aughrim. What are you expecting from round 3 of the Christy Ring Cup?
Yeah, it should be interesting. I actually got to see a bit of the Wicklow hurlers in Aughrim last week. I got to see the second half of their game versus Derry, and they did very well. I felt to battle back into that game, and their full forward in particular is actually really, really impressive. Reminded me a bit of John Henderson a little bit in terms of how they were utilising them. So, you know, I'll back them to get over the line versus Meath. I would go for Derry to beat Donegal as well. I think they should have enough to come through that, and I think Kerry should be far too strong for Roscommon as well. That should be a fairly convincing victory.
We unbelievable. I can't believe this, guys. So far nobody has voted for Tipperary. This poll is still active. If you think that Waterford will win, type 1 into the live chat. If you think that Tipperary will win, type 2 into the live chat. I won't take it down for a while, but so far I am surprised nobody's gone for Tip yet. Ryan saying Kerry 5-26, Roscommon 13 points for that, and then Porter also saying Derry to win. We're going to move on now. So that's Christy Ring Cup. Aaron has given the preview for us there. Liam will come to you next for the Nickey Rackard Cup. We have Louth hosting Tyrone Saturday at 3 p.m. in Darver. Fermanagh host Mayo Sunday at 2 p.m. in Brewster Park. And Sligo host Armagh Sunday at 2 p.m. in Tubbercurry.
Yeah, I think Tyrone should beat Louth comfortably enough. They put 5 goals past Mayo last weekend, which was a big surprise to me, especially to be doing it away from home, where you look at Louth conceding 131 against Sligo Sligo are a very, very good team. They have a lot of really good players, a backbone by the Eastkey boys, but look, realistically, Tyrone should win this game this weekend, regardless of the fact that it is away from home. They should win this. rather comfortably. Looking at the other games, it's Sligo. They're on the right track. There's no doubt about that. I mean, to score 131 in your opening weekend is really, really good going. And I think they should have too much for Armagh, especially having home advantage this weekend. I think that should be a comfortable enough victory there. Mayo surprised me last weekend, conceding 5 goals at home to Tyrone, considering this is a team that were competing in Division 2 this season. They'll definitely be a small bit shocked from that, to be honest with you, but I can't see them having too many issues with Fermanagh this weekend. Look, Fermanagh are not a bad team, to be fair to them, and they did really well to get a win over Armagh last weekend by a point. It sounded like an absolute cracker in the end, to be honest with you, but I think Mayo, going away from home, they'll want to regroup after that hammering that they took, and especially they won't want to concede 5 goals again. There's no doubt about that. So I'm going to go with Mayo to edge it against Fermanagh, but I think it'll be a cagey enough affair.
Absolutely, yeah. I do agree with the 3 predictions you've given there. I'm coming back to you, Matthew, then for the Lory Meagher Cup round 3. We have another double header this weekend in Páirc na hÉireann. You have Lancashire hosting Cavan Sunday at 12 p.m. in Páirc na hÉireann, followed up by Warwickshire facing Monaghan in the same venue at 2 p.m. And then Leitrim, meanwhile, face Longford back here in Ireland Sunday at 2 p.m. in Páirc. Sean McDermott. And this is just classic scheduling nonsense. Leitrim play against Longford Sunday at 2 p.m. in Páirc. Sean McDermott. They play against Galway in the same venue on Saturday. So if Leitrim fans want to watch the footballers and the hurlers, they got to make a trip to Páirc. Sean McDermott twice. Ever heard of a double header, lads? But anyway, Matthew, what do you think?
Yeah, I think the Leitrim fans will be even more disappointed with this prediction. I think Longford will win this weekend. They're on very good form at this present moment. Division 4 finalist Ruben Murray's in brilliant form. And I think Longford will get over the line there. In terms of the 2 games across the water, Cavan should beat Lancashire. Lancashire in bad form at this present moment. They're using a lot of players and they don't seem to be gelling as a team. It seems like, look at their scores and things like that. I actually think Warwickshire will beat Monaghan. I've been impressed with them in terms of their performances so far in the league and the championship. So I'm going to go for Warwickshire to win that. So Warwickshire, Longford and Cavan.
Any disagreements with that?
No.
I think I'd probably go for Monaghan. I was impressed with them beating Cavan the final day out, or the last day out. But apart from that, I agree with you. But yeah, that's hurling. We also have camogie action kicking off, and we still have football to go in the men's football championships, and then the LGFA Provincial Championships kicking off as well. But Matthew, I'll go back to you because you have the one clash in the Munster Senior Camogie Championship, and that is Tipperary facing Limerick. The clash of Waterford and Clare isn't this weekend. That's actually the weekend after. But Tipperary face Limerick in this semi-final Sunday at 12:30 p.m. in Páirc Uí Chaoimh. Tipperary, Limerick, what are you expecting?
Yeah, this is a double header with the Limerick and Cork game. Obviously, if Cork got over the line against Tipperary, it would have been a Cork-Limerick double header in both, but obviously that didn't play out that way.
Header? That's such a good idea. Someone tell Leitrim to do a double header.
In this case, though, I don't know, is it a good idea because
so the Limerick fans will already be there.
Limerick fans will be there, but what about the Tipperary camogie fans?
Yeah, that's true.
They'll find a way.
But no, I seen videos during the week saying it is a good idea in terms of the camogie because, like, in the Cork Tip game last weekend, in the second half in particular, a lot of people actually came in. It was about 30,000 that actually came in and watched the camogie.
I've seen Keane Johnson talk about that.
Yeah.
I think just in general, especially now, especially with a cost of living crisis, with the petrol, the cost of fuel, everything, double headers have to be the way wherever we can.
Yeah, absolutely. And it should be the way without a doubt. But looking at the game overall, like Tipperary were competing in Division 1A, Limerick 1B. Limerick have a lot of exciting players. The likes of Stephanie Wolf and the likes of Donna Kenny and all them players. Like, they do have some decent individuals. Ava Larkin there as well. Like, they do have some good players that competed with UL in the Ashburn Cup. But the way Tipperary dismantled Cork last weekend and the way they have been performing this year, the likes of Clodagh McIntyre and Grace O'Brien, not just this year, but the previous few years as well, I fancy Tipperary to get over the line. I think they should do it pretty comfortably, regardless of how many fans are in the ground.
I agree. I think Tipperary are going to win. I was very impressed and definitely caught my eye that they beat Cork, obviously, the final day out. And regardless of whatever form Cork are in, they're still one of the best sides in the country. So Tip have started with intent. I think they're going to win this game against Limerick and book their place in the Munster Camogie final, where I think, to be honest, they'll face Waterford. And that's a huge opportunity for both of those counties to kick off the year with silverware. Aaron, I'll come to you next. We obviously have 2 Leinster Senior Camogie Championship semi-finals taking place this weekend. First of all, Wexford host Kilkenny on Friday at 7:30 p.m. Dabbling with a bit of Friday night Gaelic games action. And that one taking place obviously at Wexford Park. Then on Saturday at 3:30 p.m. Dublin host Carlow in Parnell Park at 3:30 p.m. What are you expecting from these two?
Yeah, it'll be interesting. Like, I think Kilkenny should be too strong for Wexford. Obviously, there is a division between them, and I do think Kilkenny were fairly impressive throughout their league season. So I think they should have enough. Obviously, it is a bit of a local rivalry and everything else. And to be fair, Wexford probably didn't play to their absolute best, I think, throughout Division 1B. So I probably would back Kilkenny to come through it there. And yeah, I think we should have enough for Carlow. Carlow relegated from Division 2A without a win in their 5 games, losing 4 matches. Obviously, it was disappointing in terms of our defeat to Clare, obviously, in the Division 1B final. But I think we should have enough to get over the line versus Carlow. So yeah, I think it'll be 2 fairly comfortable wins for both Kilkenny and Dublin.
Agreed. I'm going with Kilkenny and Dublin to get into the Leinster final. Any disagreements, lads? Okay, very good. Well, Liam, you are next up for the Ulster Senior Camogie Championship semi-finals. Both of these games taking place at 1 p.m, but this one's taking place on Saturday. Antrim hosts Derry and Roger Casements on the Saturday at 1 p.m, while Armagh hosts Down and Crossmaglen on Sunday at 1 p.m. What are you expecting from these two?
Yeah, look, I think Antrim are, arguably still the strongest side in Ulster, to be honest with you. Look, I think Derry will put up a good fight against Antrim, to be honest with you. But Antrim would have gained a lot from competing in the top division in the league, to be honest with you, getting that famous win over Cork as well. I think Antrim are a team this year, especially after losing out on reaching the All-Ireland final last year in Intermediate Championship. I think they'll be a team that'll be absolutely gunning to go and pick themselves up this year and get a bit of silverware. So look, I think they should have too much for Derry this weekend. In terms of the other one's kind of funny because I think Armagh are a good side, to be honest with you. Like, they could easily have won the All-Ireland junior title last year against Laois. It's just Laois had an absolutely sensational second half. Down, they were competing in Division 1B this year. So I think this one is tough to call. I might just shade it to Down to win it by a couple of points, but I think Armagh are going to put up a good, strong showing here, to be honest. I think it could be a game that could go right down to the wire, but I'm going to stick with Down by 3 points.
Absolutely. Yeah, I do agree with you. I'm going with Down and Antrim to get over the line in those games. And that is the Camogie action for this weekend. Ryan says Armagh by 3 and Antrim to be too good for Derry. And that brings us on to our third code, the Gaelic football action, which takes place across this weekend. And lads, what a fixture we have on our hands here. Gavin O'Reilly, if you're still watching, we would absolutely love to hear your opinions on this weekend's action. Obviously, Roscommon going away to MacHale Park to face one of their biggest rivals. Connacht Senior Football Championship Semi Final 2026, Mayo versus Roscommon, Sunday at 4 p.m. in MacHale Park, live on RTE. Aaron, what are we expecting from this one? This is going to be some battle. Mayo Roscommon never ever fails to deliver drama, talking points, intensity, few questionable yellow card, red card challenges, and huge quality on both sides. Again, we expect a lot here.
Yeah, it's always fierce when these two play each other. And I always think back to the game in 2023 and the image of Aidan O'Shea kind of falling to the ground and the Roscommon players kind of standing over him a little bit. I know Gavin likes that image as well because I see him put it up on Twitter all the time. But to be fair, how could you not, to be fair, if you were a Roscommon man? And I'm sure the Mayo fans will have their own version of that somewhere around the archives or whatever it may be. But look, to be fair, it's two teams that are coming in very, very good form. Like Mayo's explosiveness in terms of their attack has been brilliant. I've seen one of the comments there. I haven't actually seen myself now, but about Joe McDonagh apparently being named to start, which is very, very interesting if that is the case.
Verify that right now. I'm going to look it up, but work away.
Yeah. But if that is true, that's very interesting. That is very, very interesting to start him in a game of this magnitude, given that it's a there you go. Especially with the rivalry and everything else, like going up against, players like Brian Stack and a few of the other kind of Roscommon players, like that's going to be interesting to kind of see how that goes. But look, I think Roscommon around midfield could be very good. I think they've been quite well in midfield. I think Mayo have struggled a little bit in regards to that. I think Mayo's defence, there is still kind of some vulnerabilities there from what I've seen. Even at times London were able to kind of get through them on different occasions. So I think it's just going to be an old-fashioned shootout, to be honest. I think when you look at both of these two teams, the 2 pointers, the way that they play football as well, the quickness of their play, this has the potential to be a really, really high-scoring game and a real absolute classic. Now, sometimes we don't get that because there's a lot on the line and there'll be nervousness, and maybe one team might keep the ball for a little bit longer than maybe we would like, but I think both teams are going to be going full throttle, back and forth, and I think it's going to be an absolute cracker.
I certainly will. Just out of interest, lads, if you want to hear the team, I can run through it really quick. Rob Henley is in goal. Fullback line is Jack Coyne, Rory Brickenden and Enda Hessian. Halfback line, Sam Callan, Conor Loftus and Paddy Durkin. Midfield, Bob Toohey and David McBride. Half forward line is Jack Carney, Ryan O'Donoghue and Jordan Flynn. Full forward line is Cian MacHale, Aidan O'Shea and Kobe MacDonald. And then on the bench, you have names there like Matthew Ruan, Tommy Conroy, Killian O'Connor in there as well, Stephen Cohen, Fergal Boland. I have to say, Liam, Mayo look pretty stacked.
I like that full forward line. I can't lie. I've been looking at it for the last 2 minutes. I actually do really like that full forward line. I think you've got power in there with the likes of Aidan O'Shea. You've got pace in Kobe MacDonald, Jordan Flynn just behind him, of course, his club teammate. This is, I like the look of this Mayo team. I did think they were going to win this game anyway, and I think my belief in that has just gone up a level as well, to be honest with you. Look, Roscommon over the last decade have seemed to really like going away to Mayo on a couple of occasions, but I do think Andy Moran is building a good Mayo team. And I mean, as well as that, I also predicted them to win the Ulster, the Connacht Championship. I can't really back away from saying that now, to be honest with you. Look, I think Mayo could be in for a very good season, potentially. They had a very good league campaign. Having Kobe there as well, I think, is going to build a bit of excitement there as well amongst the Mayo support. If they can get him on the ball on a couple of occasions, then there's no telling what he can do. Aidan O'Shea, I think, is a man reborn the last year or two, to be honest with you, inside that full forward line. Conor Loftus at centre-back as well, Paddy Durkin. There's a lot of good experience across the team. They're not just relying on Ryan O'Donoghue as well for 2 pointers like we saw last year. Jordan Flynn's contributing to that now. Cian MacHale, Jack Carney, they're all contributing. Like you said, the bench is stacked. Like if they are in trouble, then they've certainly got reinforcements. There's no doubt about that. Look, I don't know if Roscommon have named their team yet. I don't think they have, but I think even if they have, then I think for me, Mayo are just going to be, no, they haven't named their team, but I think Mayo still will have too much firepower in the end. I think they are going to win this game by 4 points. I think I could see Mayo dominating this game, maybe taking their foot off the gas a small bit at times in the second half and allowing Roscommon back into it possibly, but I think Mayo should be getting to the Connacht final this weekend. And I think with a forward line like that, I think the minimum they should be expecting as well is to be breaching the 20-point mark. There's no doubt about that.
Absolutely. Well, Gavin is here still with us. Thanks for being with us, Gavin. We love your perspective as much as we can ahead of this game. He says, who would you guys start instead of Derek Craig? Obviously, his red card still holding up, but he's given us some options. Ben O'Carroll, Conor Cox, Paul Carey, Conor Hand. There's some really, really good options there for Roscommon. Then one more comment from Gavin that I want to get up. These guys saying Mayo and Roscommon playing the under-20 final on Wednesday, so it'll be interesting to see if Kobe is used and how long. Then Killian, the football genius, of course, guest on the pod plenty of times, says looking forward to a sunny and a skilling lads. Creeley, Callum O'Neill, Murnan all injured, so midfield is severely weakened, but we should still have enough for booking another semi-final. And Sean here says, I predict Mayo to win, but Mayo's record at home isn't good in the championship. And apparently we're looking for a low attendance due to terrible ticket prices, which is another thing that a lot of people are talking about. But I suppose, Matthew, we'll go straight to Gavin's direct question. Who would you put in instead of Derek Craig?
Probably Ben O'Carroll, to be honest with you. He does have that explosiveness about him. He's a good player, shown at the club level at times for Bridget's. like Dara Craig's been in such good form this year that it's kind of hard to replace him no matter who you do it. Like Paul Carey's a good player as well, but so is Conor Hand. Like they're all very good players, but Dara's been in such brilliant form this year that it's such a hard player to replace. And Mayo have most of their players available. Obviously, Kobe, worth noting against London, they put up a ridiculous cricket score. They didn't have Kobe that day. They didn't have Darren Byrne. They didn't have Jordan Flynn starting. They still absolutely polarised London that day, other than a London player, Jim Davis, scoring a lot of 2-pointers that day. But Mayo looked very, very impressive going forward that day in Rice, to be honest with you. And I know they have a terrible home record against Roscommon. Ironically, Roscommon always seem to go to MacHale Park and beat them. Remember 2019 and remember 2023 in particular. But yeah, I just feel like Mayo would have learned from those lessons. And Andy Moore seems to be getting a tune out of these players. And Darrell Craig being missing for Roscommon and Kobe being back from Mayo, I think that could be the grain of rice.
I think that's more than a grain of rice. Those two players are absolutely world class, both of them. Yeah, it is a difficult one to call. Is it a case that, like, with the new rules and the way that both of the sides are playing, I know that it's the second year of the new rules, but growing up, I always looked at Roscommon and Mayo as being the type of game that, even though both sides were absolute, like, class sides and they had unbelievable players on both teams, the likes of Enda Smith, the likes of Donny Shine over the years, the likes of Kieran MacDonald over the years, no matter what, it would always turn into a pure arm wrestle, and it would always be whatever side wanted it more on the day usually would get over the line. Both sides this year, you mentioned, Matthew, how open Mayo's defence has looked at times. Roscommon's defence also was at sea the last time they played Mayo in the final round of the league. Could this be a bit of a game where we see both sides just try and outscore each other in this one, Aaron, maybe more so than previous meetings?
I think so, yeah. Like, just especially how the rules have gone. Like, it probably wasn't like that a couple of years ago. And I think as well, like, both managers have changed their styles. The new managers that have come in for both these two counties have changed their styles quite significantly. Like, Mayo were very much a running team under Kevin McStay. They were trying to run the ball through the middle. They were passing it from side to side. I think Roscommon were very much overcoached under Davy Burke as well. They were trying to, like, create the most perfect score every time, and they would try and take the sting out of teams, which worked in the old setup, in the old rules to a certain extent. But I think under these new rules now, as we saw with many of great teams of last year, that you need to shoot quickly. You need to create chances quickly. The more opportunities and the more chances you can create, the more likelihood you will have of winning the game. And I think we saw that even with Meath at times last year, who were brilliant at doing that in particular. So, and that's what we saw with Roscommon's explosiveness, really, in terms of in the league. But Mayo are brilliant at that as well. I think they scored 7 2-pointers, I think it was, against London, or 6 2-pointers or something like that. Like, they are brilliant in terms of 2-pointers. I don't think there was a team that scored more 2-pointers than them in Division 1 in the league. Matthew will correct me on that if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure in the league phase anyway, discounting the league final. So, like, they have a huge amount of explosiveness. So it does have the makings of a game that will be back and forth. Look, maybe it might be, our man Tyrone, you've seen how cagey that was to begin with at the start. Obviously, it is big rivals. It might take a bit of a while to get going, but I think once this does get going, it's gonna be brilliant.
Yeah, it's going to be absolutely savage. Well, I have the poll up as well. Ryan Gallagher saying we can't let Mayo get some momentum. Get your votes in now. Vote 1 into the live chat if you think that Mayo are going to win. Vote 2 into the live chat if you think that Roscommon are going to win. I'll be fascinated to see how this one is divided. Liam, the lads have done a lot of chat about kind of how they see the game going and everything like that. Guys, the poll will still be active. I'm going to hide it, but it will still be active. So throw 1 into the live chat if you think Mayo are going to win, or 2 into the live chat if you think Roscommon are going to win, to cast your vote. And then I'll bring it back up at the end when we have all given our votes. Liam, I suppose the big question is, where are the key areas this game is going to be decided this time?
I think the battle between the Mayo forwards and the Roscommon backs, to be honest with you. And I think in particular in the full back and the full forward line, because I just think that Mayo full forward line that's been named is going to cause havoc, because you have Aidan O'Shea, who's the experienced head in there, who's able to catch a load of ball. Even his shooting over the last year or two has improved a lot, in my opinion. His link-up play has gotten so much better. Well, it's always been good, to be fair, but I think it actually has improved a small bit over the last year or two as well. Whether that's been something he's been working on or been coached into, I'm not sure. But he has runners off him now as well, which is going to be a massive, massive boost. I could see, sort of like, probably a weird comparison, Eden Hazard loved playing with Olivier Giroud at Chelsea, because Giroud was like the focal point up there, but he allowed Hazard to sort of play his own game. There was a good link up there. Giroud, the same way that Mbappe at the World Cup, Giroud was the perfect striker for Mbappe to sort of explode into life. And I think that's going to be similar with Kobe and MacHale at corner forwards this weekend, with Aidan O'Shea in there. And I think that's just going to have too much for the Roscommon defence, to be honest with you. And especially when Roscommon at the moment don't even know what their full back line is going to be honest with you. So, well, maybe they do. They're just hiding it from us. Obviously, maybe not naming their... Like, to be fair, it is strange.
I'd hope they know now.
To be fair, it is strange, like, for a team to be naming their team 3 days out, I suppose, when it is, it's not until Sunday and it's at 4:00. But look, I think Mayo
changes though, man. I could see Dara Byrne coming in to start. I could see Ruan coming in to start possibly as well.
But like, they're not weakening the team. Do you know what I mean? They're not weakening it by any stretch of the imagination, especially now Matthew Rowan, to be honest with you, which I'm actually thinking to it now. Probably surprised that he's not starting, but I suppose Mayo's squad at the moment is very, very strong. But I think it's the battle between the Mayo full forward line and the Roscommon full back line, and I do think Mayo is going to win that battle come Sunday. Sorry, Gav.
Do you think Mayo are going to win?
Mayo by 4 points.
Okay, one vote in for Mayo from us lads, and Mayo also winning the live poll, as you can see there, 60% to 40%. Matthew, I'll go to you next. What are you going for?
Yeah, I'll go for Mayo, simply because obviously the big players are coming back in, the way they press, even without their main players against London as well. And the Darrell Craig being missing for Roscommon, I think, is a huge blow to them. So I'm going to go for Mayo.
Aaron, what are you thinking?
Yeah, I'm going to go for Mayo as well. I think they just have a little bit more firepower than Roscommon, obviously, without there being Darrell Craig as well. Like, that is a big miss from a Roscommon perspective. So yeah, I'm going to go for Mayo by 5 points.
I'm sorry, Gavin. I'm going for Mayo as well. It's my reason for going for them, and I'm sure it's the same with you lads as well, is we all picked Mayo to win Connacht. And if we all think Mayo are going to win Connacht, then we have to stick with Mayo to win this game. They have to go through Roscommon to do that. But I think it goes without saying. Personally, lads, I don't know what you think, but personally, I think if Mayo are going to not win Connacht, I think this is where they fall. I think Roscommon could absolutely turn them over here. I just think you're looking at, as Matthew was saying there, the grain of rice, which is more like a bag of rice. I mean, losing Darrell Craig at the same time that Mayo get Kobe back into the side, at the same time that they have the likes of Cillian O'Connor, Tommy Conroy, Dara Burns named on the bench anyway. But to be missing a player the quality of Darrell Craig in a game which is going to be as tight as this, I think that might be just enough to tip it in the scale of Mayo. And I'm going to go for Mayo to get over the line in this one. So we've gone for Mayo. Ryan's gone for Roscommon, 318 to 122 after extra time. Gavin says, written off like Westmeath, won't complain in the slightest. Absolutely. It is kind of a year where you just cannot predict what is going to happen. Peg here saying Galway to win 5 in a row. We'll see. Only time will tell. But they have to go through Leitrim first. This one takes place on Saturday at 3:30 in Port Sean McDermott. And this one is live on GAA+. So Leitrim obviously upset the apple cart in Markovich Park in the Connacht Quarter Finals, and that means they get the home draw against Galway on Saturday in Port Sean McDermott. Lads, this one, you do have to say going into it that Galway are the favourites, but I was making this argument. Yes, GAA maths doesn't always add up, but Sligo nearly beat Galway a couple of years ago. It took Rob Finnerty getting a goal at the death to get Galway out of jail. I'm not saying that Leitrim are going to beat Galway. I do think Galway are going to win, but the point is, Liam, it's a free hit for Leitrim. They have nothing to lose in this game. Nobody is expecting them to turn Galway over. If they get them on the hop in Port Sean McDermott, it could get ugly for Galway quickly. I do think Galway are going to win, but I don't think it's going to be an annihilation. Leitrim have earned their place here on merit, going away to MacHale Park and beating Sligo, who got very close to Galway only 2 years ago.
Is it bad that I think Galway are going to win by 16 points? So,
well, I mean, we see it differently, but I don't think it's going to be 16 points. I'd say probably 8 or 9.
I think my only thing with it is, I think Galway were average enough during the league that I think at some point they just have to kick into gear and just say we're better than this. And I think it could come. This could be a game that could come at the wrong time for Leitrim. And look, at the end of the day, Leitrim winning against Sligo was brilliant for the Connacht Championship, and it was brilliant for football, to be honest with you. Obviously not great for Sligo, but you saw what it meant, even seeing the celebrations afterwards that the Leitrim players had. I don't know if you saw it, them singing in the bars and everything. I thought that was absolutely fantastic, and it just shows what winning a game for the likes, of Leitrim, who haven't had a lot of success in the last number of years, say in the Connacht Championship, for them to get that one win is absolutely brilliant. And to see the celebrations afterwards were fantastic. But I just think Galway and Mayo, for me, with obviously the punchline of Roscommon as well, are just such levels above Leitrim, and probably at this moment in time now, probably Sligo again, which is disappointing because I expected Sligo to make a bit of a burst the last year or two, given their underage success, given Kildare Strandhill winning the club championship as well 2 years ago, but it's not really turned out that way at the moment. Look, Leitrim could give it a go. There's no doubt about it. They have a free shot, and even if they get pumped this weekend, I mean, they can still take a lot into the Tailteann Cup. There's no question about it. But I just think Galway, surely this weekend, they got to kick into gear. And what perfect way to do that than get a convincing win in the first round of the championship. So I think this should be a game that Galway should win rather comfortably. But again, if Leitrim could put up a great battle, and if we could get something like what Sligo nearly pulled off against Galway a couple of years ago, where Galway had to win it in the last minute with a goal, then then I think that'd be brilliant for Leitrim and shows such great progress too.
Absolutely. Gavin here saying Poacher will be the second best Leitrim manager of all time after Jono if they pull this off. Obviously referencing the great John O'Mahony. Sean O'Malley saying Leitrim are coming into this on a high after upsetting Sligo. Barry McNulty's 2-point threat is definitely real, and with a home crowd at their back, there could be a game on here. A2 going for an unconvincing Galway win. Peg going for a convincing Galway win. Ryan saying last time Leitrim won Connacht, they beat the big three. And also Ryan saying Galway 221, Leitrim 116. Gavin saying I'd go with Galway by 4. Like Mayo scrapped Leitrim last year. Sean meanwhile says Galway 225, Leitrim 22 points. The reality is though, Matthew, like when you're looking at, well, actually I'll throw this one to you, Aaron, because you were there. It's a year where we're seeing upsets or very, very near misses in the provincial championships, as we nearly saw with Wicklow against Dublin. Home advantage can do a lot, and with the form that the likes of Barry McNulty are in, look, we're all going for Galway, I take it, but how close do you think it's going to be?
Yeah, no, like I think, and even to be fair, like we saw with Leitrim against Mayo last year, like Leitrim gave a good account of themselves in that game as well. Like I think Mayo won comfortably in the end, but like it wasn't convincing. And it wasn't. I know maybe it was a different version of Mayo back then, but yeah, like I do expect Leitrim to give a bit of a threat. Like I think Barry McNulty will score a couple of 2-pointers. I think Tom Pryor will play well. Probably depends on what version of Galway that we see. Like if Galway aren't at it and are off the pace, then Leitrim could grow on confidence and everything else. Yeah, look, I'd not to go back to the Wicklow Dublin game because I'm trying to forget about it, to be honest, but like I do think Wicklow are a better team than Leitrim personally, and I do think Galway are a significantly better team than Dublin. So I don't think we will see it. I think Galway are I don't know when the last time they actually played at Park Sean McDermott against Leitrim. I know they obviously played against Armagh recently in that ground, but I think they'll be fine. Even with players that might be missing like Homer or Walsh, like I think they should be fairly okay to win it. I'd say 9-10 points probably, but I also wouldn't be surprised if you check the score and it's 18 points. You know what I mean? You wouldn't be surprised either.
Yeah, I'll go Galway by 9. Matthew, I'm assuming that you're going Galway as well.
Yeah, probably without much fuss, I think Galway will get over the line. But it's quite interesting to look at the starting lineup for Galway and the bench. Like you've Cian Darcy actually named at number 14, which is quite interesting. Are Galway playing like a tactic trying to put Cian Darcy in the square and trying to lob balls into him. To be fair, their midfield isn't too bad with John Maher and Paul Conroy starting. So, like, they can afford to put Cian Darcy.
So many midfielders, don't they?
Yeah, they do.
Don't even have Killian McDade, Peter Cook.
McDade's at number 12 as well.
Okay.
So he could join in the fray. But yeah, it's absolutely brilliant. And then, interestingly, on the bench, number 22, Shane Walsh, number 26, Damien Comer. Will we see them this Saturday? Be very interesting to see that. Obviously, it's the likes of Sean Kenny and Kieran Malloy on the bench as well. So Galway do have a stacked bench if things go wrong, of course. So yeah, I think Galway will win the game, but it's going to be very interesting if Walsh and Comer do get game time this Saturday, I think.
Yeah, no, I agree. Matthew, I'll go straight back to you though for this one, because we're going to see the All-Ireland finalists and back-to-back Ulster champions kick off their defence this weekend. They host Down Sunday at 3 p.m. in O'Donnell Park in Letterkenny. This game live on GAA Plus. The league champions, of course, kicking off their championship campaign. Can they achieve an incredible feat? I mean, we were talking about Jim has never done 3 in a row Ulster titles. This is the first step on that path to try and achieve that. And after their win against Kerry in the league final, everybody will be expecting them to do so.
Well, it's not just Jimmy, it's obviously Donegal, the county. They've never done 3 in a row in Ulster either. And that's why I have my doubts in terms of them winning. Obviously, they won the league final. It was a brilliant win for them. They're probably All-Ireland favourites at this present moment. We'll get out to Kerry in a sec, but look at Kerry's injuries. You have to fancy Donegal to win the All-Ireland this year. Look at form and things like that. But I think this has the potential to be game of the weekend because, as I said at the start of the show, the ramifications for this, because of Westmeath winning over Meath last week in the Leinster Championship, Down need to get to the Ulster final now if Westmeath are to beat Kildare, which spoiler alert for next week's podcast, I do think Westmeath might get over the line against Kildare next week. So Down have to win this weekend to stay in the Sam Maguire Cup. Form book, I don't think they will because Donegal are just too strong. They are Division 1 champions for a reason. They're performing well, even without the likes of Michael Murphy and Oisin Gallup for the majority of the league. They perform very, very well. But this Down team has a lot of quality in it. Oran Murdoch, Pat Averin, Caleb Doherty at wing forward. Like, they do have some very, very good players. The question mark about Down is, can they get a big, big scalp? I know last season they showed a lot of promise. They beat sides like Cork. They beat sides like Louth last year in League and Championship. But at the end of the day, when you look at it, they didn't beat a big, big opposition. Like in Ulster, they got close certain occasions. Starbow for the last 2 seasons. They got close to Galway, of course, last season, but they just couldn't get it over the line. Monaghan, of course, they couldn't get over the line. Could this be the weekend where they break their duck? I think it could be because of the ramifications, as I mentioned. I just think Donegal are just too strong. I can't back against Donegal after their league final performance against Kerry. I think Donegal will win it, but I think Down will be raring to go for this game.
Yeah, I agree with everything that you've said there. I think Donegal will be too strong. But I think if it was one of those things that if it was any other team, I'd actually fancy Down because of the level of pressure that is going to be on them now that Westmeath have turned Meath over. Sean here saying, I think there will be 2 points galore in this game, but unfortunately, I think Donegal will win. Gavin says Donegal by 15. They should be more prepared for Down than last year. Down were very poor against Wexford. I think there's partly as well that Wexford were very, very good. But yeah, I am going for Donegal. But I do think that if the result that you're looking at going, maybe you might see a bit of a scare for the favourites, I think this might be the one. Liam, Aaron, I'm assuming both of you are going for a Donegal win, but would either of you be tempted to say that this one will be razor close?
I think it will be close, yeah. I think Down will give a really good go in this game, to be honest.
Ryan's saying they're going to win.
Wow. 6 points.
Wow.
Not even close.
That's no, I wouldn't go that far now. I wouldn't go that far. I don't know, like Down nearly beat Armagh a couple of years ago. They gave a good goal to Donegal last year. And let's not actually forget the last time Donegal lost in the Ulster Football Championship was against Down. A good couple of years ago. I think in 2023. Obviously, Jim McGuinness wasn't the manager. It was a different scenario. But there will be Down players on the field who've beaten Donegal in a championship game. Do you know what I mean? So I think they'll give it a good go. I think like a lot of the negative commentary on them over the game against Wexford, I thought was very harsh. Like judging them on one game that we've seen them play live.
Sorry, Ryan.
That's
today,
fair.
Donegal
I've
win by
done
6.
that before. But yeah, no, I think Donegal will win, but I do think Down will give it a good go.
I agree. I would probably be very similar to what Ryan has gone with. I'd say Donegal by 5, but made to work for it. Des says here Donegal will win 3 in a row. They have players back from injuries: Darragh Boyle, Oisin Gallen, Kieran Moore, Sean Patton, all back. This is the strongest Donegal squad in a long time. I think depth-wise, this is the strongest team in the country. Depth-wise, I think in terms of like the best players, who has the best players? Kerry have the best individual players, like the likes of Tom O'Sullivan, Gavin White, David Clifford, Paddy Clifford, Sean O'Shea. But in terms of squad depth, I think Donegal have the best squad depth of anyone in the country. So yeah, I think they'll have too much in this game. I expect them to win. This one, I think there's more similar, that there's an obvious favourite. You'd back Armagh to win this one against Fermanagh, even though it is in Brewster Park. But Liam, also potentially very, very dangerous here for Armagh if it gets tense. Like, Fermanagh have a lot to prove after a very flat league campaign, which is why I expect Armagh to win this without too much of a sweat. Not a sweat, but like without too much fear. But it's the type of game that if it gets hairy for Armagh, could get ugly quick.
Yeah, Brewster Park is a very awkward ground. Do you know, like Fermanagh last year, wasn't it Down that they should have knocked out, or they should have beaten last year, and they lost it in the end, and they're still probably scratching their heads to this day. Wasn't it 2 points in the end that they lost? And I'd say they're still kicking themselves over, to be honest with you. But look, for me, even with the injuries that Armagh have at the moment, thanks to Killian letting us know about that, I just think Fermanagh had such a poor league campaign, and you look at Armagh, they had such a good. I think that win against Tyrone would have done so much for them, because it was a tight affair. It was hard hitting. By God, it was Ulster football in a nutshell. To be honest with you, there was blood. It was like watching UFC. To be honest with you, at times it was just they just wanted to batter each other. But I think it would have done no harm for them as well that they got a bit of extra time. Playing extra time, getting a few more minutes under their belts as well. Really going to the wire, testing their mettle a bit. Look, Fermanagh, I think we'll put up a bit of a fight this weekend. Look, I think Armagh will win by 11 points, but I do think context with that 2-pointers. I think Armagh could be, 5 points up with 10 minutes to go, couple of 2-pointers towards the end, makes the scoreline look a bit nicer on their behalf. But ultimately, yeah, you'd have to back Armagh to win this weekend. Other than Donegal, they're the strongest side in the Ulster Championship this year. And that'll set us up for a Donegal. Spoiler, I think Donegal will beat Down as well by 7 points. But again, I think Down will put up a decent performance against them. It's just like you said, Donegal's squad depth is just absolutely ridiculous, to be honest with you. But yeah, then I think it will be setting up a Donegal Armagh semi-final. And yeah, as I said before, grab your popcorn, get the punching bags, and get yourself set up for a cracking semi-final.
Yeah, no, I do agree. The thing I'd be worried about as someone who predicted Armagh to win the Ulster Championship is their injuries. Like, they're dropping like flies, like they're losing key players here, and still no sign of Rian O'Neill returning. Like, I'd be worried that maybe the
league.
What?
See the pass he made in the Armagh league.
Yeah, I'm just like, getting back in, geezer. What are you waiting for? Like, you just see like the Undertaker coming in, like, dong, and he's making his way out. Like, I could see something like that. But yeah, bring back Rian and bring him back soon, to be honest, if you want to win this Ulster Championship. At 226 for Fermanagh, 16 points is what Sean is going with. I'm assuming, lads, you are agreeing Armagh to beat Fermanagh in Brewster Park. And if so, Matthew, I'll come to you next. You said you're going to this game, Tipperary versus Cork, Saturday at 2 p.m. in Semple Stadium. And then on the other side of the draw, Clare are hosting Kerry Saturday at 2 p.m. in Port Keysog. This one live on GAA+. What are you expecting from the Munster Senior Football Championship semi-finals?
Two obvious favourites, obviously, with Cork and Kerry, but I seen a clip from Smaller Fish GAA before going on here, and it has concerned me. He said, we talked about Armagh with injuries dropping like flies. Colin Parkinson mentioned that Kerry have injuries dropping like flies. The likes of Paddy Clifford, Sean O'Shea is injured at this present moment, Joe O'Connor's injured. And Colin Parkinson said this at the end of the clip: they'll do well to beat Cork in the Munster final. I'm like, you're putting pressure on Cork now, Colin. Please. But,
no, the hype train's gone from the hurlers to the footballers now.
Absolutely, but Kerry should be clear even without their injury issues. I know Marco Shea and Dermot O'Connor are playing this weekend in midfield. Keith Evans and Killian Trant are getting starts as well, which should be interesting in championship football there. But my question about Kerry, well, they'll win this weekend because I don't rate Clare. I honestly don't. But I think Kerry, the question marks is about their defence and how they've recovered from that Donegal game in Croke Park and how open they were against Donegal, especially at fullback. And they have to sort those issues. And a lot of people might have argued maybe before the All-Ireland series, okay, I might be hyping up Cork now, but even before the Munster final, like Cork could bloody Kerry's nose in the Munster final if it comes to that stage. So Kerry need to, get a grip on things very, very quick before things get. I do think Kerry will win Munster in the end. I'm not mad, but look, it's going to be interesting with Kerry and how they will progress and things like that, and how their injuries will clear up. I think Sean O'Shea's is an ankle. Gavin Wise on the bench, but he hasn't really played this year. Paddy Clifford, I don't know when he's going to come back in, but we'll see with Kerry and how it all progresses. As for us, we'll win. We should win against Tip. With the greatest respect, look, Tip were lower end of Division 4. Coincidentally, the last championship meeting between the sides was when Tipperary won the Munster Championship in 2020 for the first time in 8 years. So
that's how long ago? Jesus.
Yeah. But we're mentioning Tipperary have, I think, one player that actually played that day and he came on as a sub Paddy Feehan. The rest, like Mikey Quinlivan's gone, Colin O'Riordan's gone, Conor Sweeney's retired, Robbie Kiley's retired. A lot of them Tipperary players are gone. Whereas you look at Cork, obviously, you have Brian Hurley, Colin McGallen, Ian Maguire, MacHale Martin, and a bunch more are all still there. So the scars would have been there and they'd want to get over the line in this game against Tipperary. One thing that is very interesting, Dara Sheedy, sadly for him, is out with a hamstring injury after the under-20 game. It was a brilliant result over Kerry to win that game over the Irish Nemesis, but came at a cost. Dara got an injury, a hamstring injury. It's unknown at the timeline of it, but he's ruled out for this weekend, which is a massive blow for us. Dara has been absolutely sensational for this season and has added a different dimension to our attack. The guy replacing him is Conor Callahan, and it's kind of a shift from Cleary. So Sean McDonough's moved to centre forward, Conor Callahan's to wing, and then Chris Og, Cronin, and Sherlock at the full forward line. So Brian Hurley's still on the bench, Corbett's still on the bench. So quite an interesting move there from John, but we'll see how it does progress. And if there's any chance of experimentation, it's probably this weekend before the Kerry game. But yeah, I think Cork will win this weekend. Kerry should beat Clare, and a Munster final between the Irish Nemesis for the first time actually since 2021, if all goes to plan.
Yeah, no, I would agree. I'm going to go for Kerry and Cork to get over the line. Any disagreements, lads, or are we all good to move on?
No disagreements.
Okay, very good. Liam, I'll go to you next for this one. The Leinster LGFA kicks off this weekend. The LGFA Provincial Championships kick off this weekend. If you didn't catch our All-Ireland Championship preview in the studio for the LGFA Championships that we filmed on the 28th of March, we released yesterday, obviously, with the championship kicking off this weekend. It premiered on the Cúilín Media YouTube channel last night at 8 p.m, so do check that out if you haven't already. But Liam, Leinster kicks off this weekend. Meath hosts Kildare in Summerhill. Two teams that are expected or will be expecting themselves to go deep into the championship. Meath obviously reaching the final last year. Kildare had a great win over Armagh, but ultimately fell short to Kerry in the quarter-final stages. What are you expecting from these two?
Yeah, I mean, I hope it's a better game than what they gave last year, because last year's game when they met in the championship wasn't the best outing. It was wasn't it 7-4 that game ended last year, or was it 8-5? It was one or the other.
Yeah, 7-4, but it was shocking conditions. I remember that day.
Oh no, it was, and that's the context behind it. But I just hope it's not the same again this weekend. Look, Kildare had a great win over Meath in the league campaign, but I do personally still think that Meath would be still the stronger side. I mean, it was Kildare's only win in the league as well, so probably a bit of context behind that. Whereas, like, it's funny, like, Meath didn't have a great league campaign themselves. I mean, they bet Dublin, but that was about the biggest high that they got, really, to be honest with you. And Dublin themselves didn't even have a great league campaign. So, look, I think Meath should be going into this game this weekend as the favourites, to be honest with you. I think, having home advantage as well is crucial to them. And yeah, look, I think they should be able to get over the line against Kildare. I think they should have too much for them. Yeah, I'm going to go with Meath to win this game this weekend. I just don't think Kildare are just quite at the level of Meath, to be honest. And trying to get a victory over them in the championship and trying to beat the same team twice in the 1 year, it's always very, very difficult, and especially beating this level of opposition. So I'm going to go with Meath to beat Kildare.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Meath as well. No, do you know what? Actually, weirdly enough, no. I'm going to go with Kildare. I think Meath are missing a lot of players. You think about it, man. Mary Kate Lynch, AFLW, Avian Cleary, the same. Orla Lally, the same. Not sure about Vicky or Sarah Wall if they're still here.
If Vicky and Sarah aren't playing, I'd probably change my opinion. But I'm going to stick with the hope that they are there at the moment, and I'm going to stick with Meath.
I'll go with Kildare. Lads, what do you say? I know Roisin Byrne is out, but yeah. I'm going to go with Kildare. Matthew, what are you thinking in a word?
I'm going to go Meath.
Aaron?
I'm going to go Kildare as well. I think you convinced me, Seamus.
Sneaky one. Is that just because we're two Meath lads, Aaron?
yeah. Meath fans, you know. They're going to call us Kildare fans now. Be careful.
Just for context, anybody who's confused, me and Aaron got accused of being typical Meath lads because we picked Meath to get promoted from Division 2 by someone in the comments on TikTok, and I think we fairly obvious Dublin accents. But anyway, we'll carry on. Aaron, I'll go back to you for the opening round of the Ulster LGFA Championship. Armagh host Donegal Sunday at 2 p.m. in the Athletic Grounds. Armagh, the Ulster champions, going up against Donegal, the Division 2 champions. What are you expecting from this one?
Yeah, I think it should be a very interesting one. Like Donegal obviously had a solid enough league in terms of Division 2, but I think Armagh probably will be the better side, in my opinion. I think they just have a little bit more firepower than Donegal. Like, it is a game that you probably could look at and think there could be an upset here, there could be a bit of a surprise, or maybe it wouldn't even be that big of a surprise if you back Donegal to win it. But I still think from an Armagh perspective with players like Amy Mackin and Kelly Mallon, I think they do still have a little bit more. So I'll go with them to get over the line.
I would agree, but I am nervous about the trajectory of Armagh. I've seen a couple of signs that maybe it's starting to come undone a little bit. Like the loss to Kildare maybe was a real sign of, don't get me wrong, Kildare beat them with a better side. But yeah.
They do seem to have a surprise defeat in them. They do seem to have a bit of a surprise, like shocking them every now and then. They can kind of upset teams when they're playing them, but also be upset themselves in terms of a surprise, you know that way.
Yeah, I'm going to go for Armagh to win this one, though. Just slightly. I think if there's a result that I think could go against the grain, I think Donegal winning Division 2 to be in good form. But yeah, I will stick with Armagh. And Matthew, then for your own province, I go back to you. Cork host Tipperary Saturday at 7 p.m. in Páirc Uí Rinn. And also Kerry host Waterford Sunday at 2 p.m. in Austin Stack Park. So kicking off with a bang this weekend. What are you expecting from those two fixtures?
Cork tip game, it's kind of strange because the men's are playing at Semple Stadium at 2 p.m. and the LGFA is playing at 7 p.m. in Páirc Uí Rinn.
Okay, no doubleheader.
Yeah. I would have enjoyed that, to be honest, and it would have brought a good crowd. Tipperary footballers, seriously, Seamus, Tipperary footballers aren't followed as much. And obviously the LGFA needs the support as well. So I know it could be switching venues and things like that, but wouldn't it make it much more sense to have a double header?
It'd make much more sense for the fans as well. Diesel, petrol, just put it in the one place. Like,
yeah, absolutely. Like fans would be speeding down the motorway from Thurlestown to the park or Páirc Uí Rinn. Yeah. Like it's just, I don't know. It's a bit, I don't know. But anyway, look, I do think Cork, disregarding double headers and things like that, I do think Cork will get over the line against Tip. They performed very well in the league final, and they seem to be going on a very, very good journey at this present moment. They've only lost one game, and even that they didn't have to win against Dublin, let's be honest, in the league. So yeah, they've done very well, and I think they will get over the line. Kerry against Waterford. Mind if I ask, where's that game?
Austin Stack Park.
Austin Stack Park.
Look, that's tough to go. Well, I think we're all going for Cork, are we, lads? We're all going for Cork to beat Tip.
Yeah.
This one is the tough one. Yeah. Just to remind you, lads, in the live episode, we picked Waterford to top Munster. Aaron, you picked Cork to top Munster.
Yeah.
But is this the game that spins on?
Oh, like Waterford, I feel like they're on better form than Kerry, and their players are performing better.
Yeah.
Like Kerry do have Shifra, Danielle, Rachel Dwyer. Like, but it's such a tough one to go. I do think, although Liam did mention on one of the pods, Kerry's home form in the league is absolutely dreadful.
Yeah.
So for that reason, and because of Waterford's form in the league and the players that they have and the form they're on at this present moment, I'll back Waterford.
I'll agree. I'll go with the Daisha to make a splash in round one. Liam?
I'm going with Waterford.
Aaron?
Going with the Daisha as well.
Okay, look at that. We're on the same page here, boys. Brilliant stuff.
We're never going to be welcome back to Kerry again.
And if the
Okay, I'm not welcome anyway. That's all good.
And if the predictions go wrong, then we can just say we're past an hour, half hour past an hour 15 in terms of the time. So any prediction we made after an hour 15 doesn't count. We're deep into delusion time at that stage. But yeah, that is another weekend preview show. Thank you so much to everybody who got involved, and especially everybody that got involved in a live chat and the poll. Really helped to make that another really enjoyable episode here on Cúilín Media. My thanks to the lads for joining us. Don't forget to check out the live championship preview that we dropped from the in-studio episode series yesterday on the channel. And tune in Sunday night at 8 p.m. where we have our weekend review show where we react to all of the weekend's action. It should be a great episode. Sean saying, great pod, lads. Thank you very much, Sean, for joining us. Thanks to everyone for joining us. See you back here on Sunday at 8 p.m. Until then, Torah.
Instinct, baby.